Okay. Awesome. Here we are, part two. I mean, this would technically be like the third part, but it's the second time I'm streaming this of my playthrough of the British Way Malaya, which is the second game of the End of Empire campaign in this coin light, coin mini, whatever you want to call it. So the point we're at right now is where we left off, and we're in the final part because I will change focus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we've played through the first third of the deck. It's basically a couple of stacks of 7 cards, one of which will be a propaganda card. So here's the bottom portion of it, and we are, I think, 1 card into it. Let me just double check, because here's 1, 2, 3, 4. You always have 4 cards that are going to be non-propaganda, and then anywhere in the bottom 3 can be the propaganda card. Yep, and we're 1 in. So there are 6 more cards in this one with a propaganda, and then there's 7 with a propaganda. So there are 3 that are guaranteed not propaganda, and then in the next 3 there will be 1. So there you go. Imperial Prestige is at 11. That's like the total game tracker victory points. That's like going to be affected game to game. So it's not always directly impacted with every movement that happens here. Sorry, it's not always impacted with every movement that goes on here. So just how it is. And then the victory points for this game are political will over there. They are at the 11 spot, and it is the track is color coded. The dark red and the dark blue are like auto victories. The light blue and the light red are like minor victories, and then there actually is, I think I could draw space at 10. I'm not entirely sure, but
Dark
I
red,
think that's what it is.
dark
Sorry, I'm
blue.
just checking it on the live stream in case anybody talks to us. So if you want to chat, drop into the chat, let us know, and we'll get jumped in right here. Okay, so the British are slightly ahead, but not immensely so. I think their board position is better than the MCP, and that shows over here they decided to go all in on this one. They think they're going to win, and be able to pick up Imperial Prestige. They can basically wager on what they think the outcome will be, and they want to mitigate, or they want to, really push the advantage. So a couple different options for them, and they went all in. Okay, so opening card of the day, ex-Palestine recruit. So we just came from this one. That's what we did last campaign. Special constables place up to 4 police in British-controlled spaces, or tactics backfire MCP free rally in 2 spaces, and then shift 1 selected space towards opposition. So that's really nice. Free troops on the board, and getting to shift a space toward opposition. So that would mean that a support space would go neutral, or a neutral space would go to oppose. Because right now, a lot of the big provinces are all support, especially Perak, which has 3 population. So that's a big one there that they could potentially hit. Okay, let me straighten this out here. Cool. So the MCP is up first, and they could get a free rally. I'm assuming that would mean they could also agitate. They could free rally here, flip these guys underground. Then they could do it also up there in Kelantan, but I think it might not be a bad idea to do here and then neutral that place out. But I think they will take the event. And it's 2 free rallies. So I do think one here is useful. So let's flip these guys down. There's a free one there. And I like Kedah up in the top. Perak is another one. But I think we kind of want to stay away from where other people are. So we're just going to get to place a gorilla. Excuse me. We'll place that in Kedah. And we will, in addition, get a free shift in one space towards opposition. See, that's why I'm assuming that the rest of this, then as desired in one rally space, if base, MCP control, agitate one level. So like, I don't know if that gets to apply. The spaces we selected didn't. So we're going to flip this from support to neutral because it shift one level towards opposition. So assuming that's what that means and not, I don't think it goes straight from one to the other. I think it can become neutral again. And then this is going to get in MCP control up here, even though it's support. So that's a big 2-point swing away. They still have pieces here to make that more. So that's pretty good. And control does directly affect this political will. So by controlling that space up there, they're going to gain 2 political will towards them. So now it's on their side very slightly. Now the British can decide what did they want to do. Yeah, the Kelantan's not a very attractive target right now, because if they were to assault with 2 troops, they would remove 2 pieces, and so that would just kind of be a slog. They don't want those pieces to escape, but I don't know that they also want to spend the time doing that. Semblian here would like to get rid of those guys, and remember there are active cells in these economic zones here. I really don't know how you're supposed to get pieces out of there. I guess you attack them. But you need a lot of guerrillas in those spaces to do that. Who knows? Okay. They could just do a limited op and try and flip these guys. They would flip them. There wouldn't be any try. I'm fine with that. Let's do sweep. It's going to be, that's the one issue they're going to run into, is they're actually pretty low on resources, and they've got a ways to go. So it's going to be 2 resources, down to 6. And it is move any troops into adjacent spaces. So here's going to be destination. Then activate 1 guerrilla per cube in each destination, or 2 for every 1 in the jungle, or 1 for every 2. So there we go. We'll get those 2 guys in Semblian, and then we will shuffle on down to the next card. Okay. That one's along, so there should be 2 more non-cards. CCP Victory. MCP resources -3, so provide no support. Remove 2 guerrillas, or emboldens MCP free rally in 2 spaces, and then may agitate in 1 rally space with a base. So this is less useful to the MCP. It's kind of nice, but it's not awesome because they can't rally. I mean, so they can't agitate. I guess maybe they could place a base and then agitate, but the MCP resources -3 is kind of good. And then removing 2 guerrillas, because you could just blitz the guys out of the economic centers, which is kind of nice. Brits are up first. Yeah, you could just go bonk, bonk, and take those guys out, or you could take out both of these dudes here. Not that that would really be all that necessary. You could take, I mean, it could be any two. It's just remove two guerrillas. You could take the two out of Pahang, and then those two bases are exposed. I think that does less, though. You're also not incredibly worried about the guys in the economic centers. William, post-World War II Malaysia, the only place on the southeastern Asian mainland where a communist insurgency was defeated by the colonial power and the local forces that they preferred. Yeah, you're right about that. That's the interesting one about this one is of all of the games in this game, so Palestine, Cyprus, Kenya, Malaya. Yeah, this one, the Malaya one is different in that way. So yeah, super interesting. But the thing I thought after the first couple of cards, I was like, oh yeah, I totally see that in the design. This one's pretty hard, but now actually, it's actually looking kind of rosy for the MCP. And now, of course, you don't want it to be fully historical. This is both not a simulation. Like some of the other coin games are more, they're going to follow a pretty historical trend line. But this one is so short that it should just kind of be, within the realms of reality, but not quite as guarded. So thank you, William, for that perspective. You're exactly right about that. And there is a nice little write-up in the rulebook with some of that information in there. Okay. I think they take the event. Question is, what did they take out? So first of all, let's go ahead and take off 3 resources. 1, 2, 3. They're obviously kind of used to operating on fewer resources, but fewer is always better when it's your opponent. So yeah, Kedah I kind of like. And Terengganu maybe. That would take the political will up 3 spaces, which is pretty nice. Keeps the support over there. Doesn't let them do some terror and change it. Yeah, I kind of like that. Also, the ECs are kind of interesting. They're definitely going to take this one off. Remove this. Put this back up by 2. And then let's take this one off. You never know when a point might be the thing that makes the difference. There we go. Being on the top of a tripod, and when I bump into the tripod, it does that. Okay. The MCP can do a special op or a limited op. Objectives now. It's tough because they just keep having their cells flipped over, made active, and they just never have. That's the thing is there's so few spaces. There's almost like nowhere to hide. Yeah, they could march from Kelantan and send a bunch of dudes into that EC down there, and then go first. So if they marched. And then attacked next turn. Or no, actually, do they want to do terror? So terror or sabotage markers in Kuala Lumpur or ECs give you 1 political will, which is kind of speculative. You'd rather just do an attack that removes troops, and you're doing just as much opposition population without new villages. Greater than support population. Terror. Yeah, I'm trying to like find where ECs are all that great. I think we may just, honestly, if we're not going to go into the EC, we could just attack in Kelantan and we'll remove those 2 troops on anything but a 6. So let's do Limop. It's going to cost us, with an attack, 1 resource. So anything but a 6 will remove those 2 troops. And what did I tell you? That's how these things work. But they'll get to go first. Jeez, that's unfortunate. If I say it, it's usually going to happen. So I shouldn't have said anything about a 6. Okay, this should be the last one that's not going to be prop card. British government demands new strategy. British resources +6 or political will -1. Move the British commander track 1 space in either direction. That's interesting. So what does that mean? Down here in this bottom corner, I can get you some zoom. There is this commander track. And it affects some of the capabilities that the British have. So like resettle is one of their special activities, and max 1 province normally. Right now they can do it in 2. Reprisal is max 1, but it's 2 with Gurney. And Templar is pacify in 1 space normally, but with Templar it's 2. So there are some benefits that come from that, from using that. Resettle we haven't really done. I'm just like kind of on like the usefulness of the new village, because it's basically British control. You shift the space 1 towards opposition and place a new village, but then at the end, places with new villages don't count for opposition. So I guess you could just like make it a safe space and not have to worry about whether it's support or opposition. I guess like if things are getting like really bad for you. I don't think that's necessary right now. So I could slide it over to here and do the train and have the, I kind of like that. I don't know. I also don't really care a whole lot. The 6 resources is nice. We wouldn't want the MC. Well, first of all, the MCP gets to go first on this. So they could take the -1 political will, which is I like it, but I definitely think we could do more with that. So I think we're going to go again, Limop, anything but a 6. I'm going to get a very good shake on this, okay? So that we won't roll a 1 in 6 chance. Okay, here we go. Anything but a 6. A 2. Took out some cubes, but that'll work. So the attack was the same one we were doing earlier. I didn't really explain that, sorry. But we are going to remove 2 cubes. We were aiming for the number of active cells, so we were looking for 5 or less, which is why 6 is the only thing that didn't do it for us. And we're going to remove those 2 cubes. It's also going to lower us a political will. So you see how that's more efficient than taking the event. But we are kind of running low. It's going to be okay, though, because we're coming up on a prop card. So it'll do it for us. Now the British want that event. I mean, 6 resources is nice, but I've already kind of, like I said, they're going to get 12 from the ECs that are unsabotaged. So they're probably going to have plenty of resources, probably more than they need. So we'll do opt and special activity probably. Train would be nice. this is where Templar would come into play. It'd be nice to have him, but I don't think it's worth it to spend that whole action doing that. So train, and we can do pacify with 1. So doing it in a space where we don't have support is useful. We need to get some troops on the map. So it's 2 each. Yeah, 2 each where cubes are placed. So let's choose Semblian. And it needs to be somewhere without MCP control. So Kuala Lumpur, we can place 4 cubes. Yeah, I think that'll be good. 4 points. Takes us down to 2. So that'll be in each selected space, place up to 2 police cubes. So we'll place 2 police here. Or if Kuala Lumpur, place up to 4 cubes. So then we'll break out the 4 troops. Boom. Then, as desired in 1 train space, if troops, police, and British control, pacify 1 level. So that's the case here. Spend 2 resources, and you can change that to support. Support won't directly affect anything, but more pieces on the map. So that is train. And then with train, they can do resettle. They can do airstrike. That's it. Up to 2 provinces with British forces. So they could remove one of these guys. But resettle is less good. Place a new village and shift the space 1 towards the opposition. I don't know why you do that. I'm sure there's a reason. But I don't know why you do that in a space that has supporters neutral. I could see it if we had control in Pahang. Dropping it there makes sense, but otherwise. So let's just do airstrike up to 2 provinces with British forces. Remove 1 active guerrilla in each province. So that's the only one that we can do. But it is 1 less guy that we got to deal with. So that'll work. Okay. Moving on. So now we are in that zone where it can be a prop card. Any one of the next 3 can be a prop card. Here we go. It is a prop card, early prop card, which is good for the British because they were out of resources. Conduct political will step, then check for victory. Okay. All right, so it's around to this thing. Hearts and minds. This is going to be good for the British. It's a good time for this to come up. No response from the MCP. It's one of the good things about going last as opposed to first. Sometimes is nice. Last means when you're coming up on a prop card round, it kind of switches where you'd almost rather be last. So subtract total opposition without new villages from total support, then adjust by the difference. Okay, so we got 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11, and then 2, 3, 4. So that's a huge swing. So 11 minus 4, that'll give you a 7. So it's going to go up by 7, which is just heartbreakingly large. 1, 2, 3, 5. Yeah, 5 spaces. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so it's going to go up 7. So from 11 to 18, which puts them in that auto victory space. First, sabotage ECs with more guerrillas than cubes, then lower political will by 1 for that. If either player has met their victory condition, the game ends. See victory. And they are just slightly in their auto victory space, because they are in the 18 by a singular 1. So I think that's actually going to be the end of this one. I can double check just to be sure that's the case. So let's go in here. Victory. Early victory. At the victory check during the political will of a propaganda round, The MCP wins if it's 0-2, and the British win if political will is 18-20. So, yep, that is the case. Malaya is a victory for the British, and that is huge. That is huge. I mean, this East Coast is so low pop that they pretty much have. I thought they were in a pretty good spot because they were keeping that political will so low, but the support is just huge. If I was doing this one again, I would do it very differently. But that is a influence victory for the British in the campaign. So what that means is they chose to stand firm, which is like the we're definitely going to win section. So they're going to get 2 prestige. Now, when it was down there in that 9 space, they actually would have lost. Let's say the game would have ended in the light red. They actually would have lost 3 imperial prestige. So they would have, gone 1, 2, down to 8, or -5 if they would have lost big time. So they were gambling, but also not really because they won a prop card early. But I think that's a little bit of a side effect of just not having played Malaya before and realizing how finely balanced everything is. So, okay, well, quite surprising there. A very sudden end. I guess I could have done the math and realized that the better thing to do would have been to march. I'm not really sure, honestly. I think there was just larger issues before we even got to that point. Missing the roll on 6 means we had 1 less action. So with 1 more action, could we have we probably could have marched into one of the ECs and then sabotaged and then gotten 1 more political will point off. Yeah, because if we'd had 1 more action, I think the idea was march 3 of these dudes into here, which would have given us more. And then it says, first sabotage ECs with more guerrillas than cubes. So we would have placed the sabotage. Then lower political will by 1 for each Kuala Lumpur in both ECs with any terror or sabotage. So we would have gotten 1 off. It would have been sitting on 17. So yeah, rolling a 6 there basically meant that the game went from an auto victory to what would have probably still been a victory, but would have at least gone to the final prop card. So it is very finely balanced. You've got to be very careful. Otherwise, you're going to lose on a dime. So these are very, very, very tight games. Okay. So I guess that will do it here. I might do another stream today with Kenya set up because this one was so short and I have time. So, but I will end this live stream so that I can switch things around. I won't do all that on the live just because it'll be too clunky. But yeah, that is Malaya. Go back and watch the first part to see how the beginning went. That was a bit of a longer session. But yeah, with plenty of cards remaining, because this was the first it could have came up. So that was the end of that stack, and there was still 7 more to go. So not even really at the halfway point of the deck did the British come through. So hey, there you go, William. Maybe it is the case that this game is tilted that direction. I will say I think we might have 1 more of these to go. Play order, pre-war options, colonial policy, campaign events. Draw 1 campaign event at the beginning of each game and the end of each reset phase. So I think we still have 1 more. So let me draw up Burma. If it's not the case, I'll readjust. British may place up to 3 troops on this card, then must roll a die. The result is less than or equal to troops on this card. Increase Imperial Prestige by 1. Otherwise, reduce Imperial Prestige by 2. Return troops on this card to Kuala Lumpur or any city in the next reset phase. So, that's interesting. I guess since it's at the end of the game, I don't know. It's actually, could be anything. Could be that we put these on here and then we don't get them until the reset phase in the start of the Kenya one. I'm not sure. But I'll clear all that up and have it set up the right way for um, for Kenya. The only impact to this would be it's either going to be one further on the Imperial Prestige track or it's going to be two down. If it's two down, then basically this game was a wash, which would be massive for the MCP or for the insurgency player going into the Kenya game. Yep, absolutely, William. Definitely check it out. So I've played the first parts, the first couple of cards of this one. I've already done, and then I may be coming back for another stream of Kenya. I did not do the Palestine one on the channel. I played that one just kind of off camera, and then realized I was like, hey, this would be great for streaming because these games are pretty short. So keep an eye out. Go look at that other video, but I may be back live here in just a little bit. Awesome. Okay, well, everybody, thank you for joining me. I'll be back probably pretty soon. All right, bye-bye for now.